Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Why Sotero Trusts Progress DataDirect OpenAccess SDK. I'm Joelle Andrews. I am a Senior Product Marketing Specialist for Progress DataDirect, and as you can already tell, I am today's moderator. I'm joined by two very special speakers. We have Avadut Kulkarni and Shanti Bopana. Avadut is an experienced senior product owner who has been with Progress for 15 years. Over the past 5 years, he has been working as a product owner on Progress DataDirect data connectivity solutions, particularly on our Open Access SDK product. Shanti Bopana is the co-founder and CTO of Sotero, a data security encryption software company. Shanti oversees Sotero's technology department. She has held several senior technology positions throughout her career and built innovative analytical solutions on a broad range of modern platforms. So I'm going to turn this over now to Avadut, and he will start our presentation. Avadut?
Thanks, Joel, for that professional introduction. But I want to do more on the personal introduction of mine, right? I have a dream. I have a dream of doing a world tour. But that's a challenge because there are 195 independent countries and more than 6,500 languages spoken. So visiting as many as countries possible, as well as talking to as many people as possible, is a big challenge. But thanks to a linguist friend, a PhD, Daniel Ross, right? He suggests that if I learn more than 150 languages, I can talk to anyone in this world natively, right? Even though he reduces that number from 6,500 to 150, that doesn't make my life easy, right? If I learn 150 languages, I need to forget my dream of world tour. So how I can simplify this problem even more? Okay, probably if I just learn 7 common languages, I should be able to talk to many people and survive in almost every country. Wow, that's a relief, right? This problem is much more simplified. But wait a second, I'm a computer engineer, I'm not linguist. So learning even 7 languages is a huge task for me. Hmm. Can I find a friend who's a linguist who knows all these 7 languages and can even learn my native language quickly so that he can become my translator everywhere I go? Probably that's a solution I should think about. If you know anyone, please tell me. But why is it relevant here? Okay, just like I have a dream, probably you guys also have a dream of data integration world tour, right? Let's see what I mean by that. So just imagine a world where there are a lot of data connectivity tools, a lot of BI tools, data integration tools, data preparation tools, right? There's a whole lot of data integration world out there. And on one side, you have your application enterprise data layer or data access layer, which can be implemented in some of the proprietary languages, as well as have a lot of uh, data access level requirement and restrictions like authentication, access privacy, data encryption, and all that, right? If your application API layer or data access layer has to connect with this data integration world, what options you have? The first one is having a need on the need basis. If you implement an integration with each of these tools, right, that could be one solution. But that would be something like learning 6,500 languages, right? So how we can simplify this problem more? Luckily, there are some standards on the data connectivity, which we called ODBC, JDBC, ADO.NET, SSIs, right? These are the common languages that these data integration tools usually speak. And if your API is able to talk in these common languages, then you should be able to talk to most of these tools. But wait a second. Again, these are like 4 different technologies. If you start implementing a connector for each of these technologies, that's going to take a long, right? Especially if you are not expert in that domain. So you also need to find one linguist friend who knows all these languages and also can learn the language of your API. And there comes open access that will help you to translate your native data language to the standards which the entire data world can consume. So let's think or let's see how it works, right? Let's start from the bottom. Here you have your proprietary data or the data application API. On that, you just write a custom code, an interface provided by open access, which will be implementing just 12 functions in the language you prefer. It could be C, C++, Java, or .NET. Once you write this custom code, it sits into the open access SDK server engine, right? And lets open access know how to communicate with your data. If your data do not know SQL or only know partial SQL, that's not a problem at all, because open access also has a component called SQL engine, which has most of its code to SQL enable your data source. And last but not the least, it has ready-made ODBC, JDBC, OLEDB, and AD.NET connectors, which are spec compliant or are proven with the data connectivity tools out there. So once you write this small custom code, you get the connectivity to the entire data integration world. Isn't that magic?
That is pretty interesting, Avidit, I will say. But can you tell us, just like the meme, why should we care?
Yeah, that's the most valid question. And you don't need to care if you are so cute. But unfortunately, we all grow up. Jokes apart, you won't care because I said it's your dream, right? You will care only when you believe it's your dream. If you already don't know if that's your dream, let's see why it should be. The first and biggest important reason I think of is open analytics or self-service BI, right? The business intelligence is going through different phases. In late 1990s, it was majorly a technical BI where IT used to help build those reports, and then used to consume, where it used to take weeks and weeks to build a report. Later in 2000s, it became more user friendly, and a data analysis analyst used to set up those reports, and the user used to consume them. But now it's more like a self-service BI. The user who needs the data want to build that report live and take the decision based on that data. And that's how it's becoming easy and more user centric. These users want to use that or consume that data into the tools they want, they prefer, and they have expertise on. So you can't restrict on certain tools to expose your data, but it has to be open for any tools for analytics. So let's see, are you seeing this in your business as well? Let's see, if you are a software product manager in ISV and already getting overwhelmed from the request from your customers that they want access to the data backing your product, right? So that they can use some third-party visualization tool on that data and populate that data into a data warehouse, so that they can integrate that data with the data from other systems to get more intelligence from that data. Yes, then you already have seeing it in your business. Or suppose you are not ISV, but if you are an IT director or CIO in an enterprise company, and your business leader want to adopt industry best practices on data driven decision making, right? And how they will do it is like integrate your internal APIs or legacy system with the CRM systems like Salesforce, Sales Cloud, right? And integrate that data to take better decisions, right? Then you're already seeing that request. So then yes, if you are in these situations, you share that dream for sure. So it's literally like your business leaders and end users are saying this to you. Don't you want them to be happy? Another request and use case could be is bridging the SQL standards. Let's see what I mean by that. So many of the times the backend data is stored in the data store, which has some connectivity with one of those standards. So something like it has a JDBC connectivity or just ODBC connectivity, right? So would that be sufficient? Maybe, based on what you want to connect to, but it doesn't make your data first class citizen in this data integration world tour, right? Let me explain this more. So let's see three different categories, right? JDBC, ODBC, or AD.NET OLEDB. So there are a lot of tools which sits into different categories. Amazon Glue, Pentaho, Sisense, right? They are JDBC only tools. Whereas Tableau, Informatica, MicroStrategy can support both JDBC, ODBC. Power BI, ClickView do support only ODBC. whereas SQL Server SSIS Crystal reports have ODBC, ADO.NET, OLEDB support. Or many of the times we see customers having a legacy .NET, ASP.NET, or OLEDB applications which can talk to only those particular native languages, right? So if you can see from this spread, and these are only few things that I'm showing here, right? There are already the connectivity spread is across, right? There is no single connectivity which can give you the full range of connections to data integration world. So you still need a translator, the translator between the standards. And that's where again open access will come into picture. So how that will work? Suppose you have an ODBC connector already for your enterprise data layer. You can put just open access in between, and you have all the range of standard connectivity all out there. And that works with JDBC, ADO.NET as well. So is the just translation enough? Right? I'm not sure how many of you can understand what's written on this image here, right? The letter in Hindi says that you can't sit on the floor and eat, right? Sitting on the floor and eating is not allowed. That's what it says in Hindi. But when it gets translated in English, that means something completely different, right? So just translation is not enough. But even after the good translation, it still doesn't mean everything. We also have our secrets that we do not want our translator or linguist to translate every each and word that we speak or think to announce to the world, do we? Right? So the linguist should not be only good in languages or translations, but it also need to be smart enough to understand what should be exposed to outside the world, what should be hidden from their view, and if they want to, we want to share something, how it should be shared. So that's where the security and privacy use case come into picture. So there are multiple use cases in privacy and security, right? The first one is authentication. Some backend data sources may not have the stringent authentication that you require, or it may not have the integration with the identity manager that you want to integrate your authentication with. So in that case, Open Access SDK can help you to augment that capability for the authentication. On this data encryption side, nowadays the data is hosted on the cloud, and that makes a lot of security personnel uncomfortable, if not worried, to keep that unencrypted data, specifically the unencrypted sensitive data, with the cloud service provider, right? This problem can also be resolved by employing a security layer at the Open Access SDK side. So this helps you store and retrieve your sensitive data in always encrypted format at the data source level. It can also help you in data masking, right? You can hide or mask your data or personally identifiable information from few or all of your users based on whatever policy you want to employ there. And this functionality can be really handy if you are striving to get a privacy compliances like GDPR. You can also implement different data access policies, the row level security, column level security, or even the multi-tenancy. If your database is multi-tenant, you can make your SQL queries the tenant aware, so that the member of a particular tenant only sees relevant data, right? Some certain industries have a very strong auditing requirements. You can also get the help of open access to audit all the access and queries that you are going to, those are going to your backend database, right? You can audit them all to meet those guidelines. So open access can achieve all of these without even touching your backend, changing any policy or settings on your backend side. And that's the beauty of it. I can talk for hours on the what all data connectivity challenges open access SDK can help you solve. But I think it's now time to hear why our customers trust open access SDK to solve their problem. Joel?
Thanks so much, Avadu. That was a fantastic explanation about how Open Access SDK works, the reasons people would want to use it, and just going through how it solves a variety of different problems. And actually, this is perfect. The use case you were just talking about privacy and security, that's the reason that Sotero sought out Progress DataDirect. But I'm not going to tell you about it. I am going to let Shanti from Sotero tell you about it. So, Shanti, thank you so much for being here. Welcome again. Can you just start by telling us a little bit about Sotero?
Thanks, Joel. Thanks for the introduction. And I will talk a little bit about what Sotero helps companies achieve, and also quickly go through a few slides so that you have an idea about how easy it is to work with Sotero. Okay. At a very high level, what Sotero does is we protect sensitive elements in the data sets. And the second part of it is enabling applications to work against the encrypted data sets in a seamless manner without any code rewrites. How do we do this? We mainly achieve this by going through a few steps. The first step itself is configuring the data set. And what it means is you can actually use our interface to configure connection to a particular data store and can pick and choose which elements are sensitive in that particular data store. After that, you can kick off a bulk encryption process from our user interface itself, so that the plain text data in the database will be encrypted and the plain text data will be replaced with encrypted data. uh, Once the data is encrypted, you can provide a role-based access control and say this particular data element can be accessed by this role and it cannot be accessed by some other role. So you can go through field level role-based access control and set it up from our UI itself. Once all these steps are taken care of, then you can configure your applications to go through ODBC, JDBC drivers, and Sotero APIs to communicate and interact with encrypted data sets. So the first step itself is selecting which elements are sensitive. Once that is done, you go through the bulk encryption process to which reads all the columns that are configured for encryption, will perform the encryption and will replace the plain text data in the databases with encrypted data. So the third and last step is to configure applications to go through Sotero drivers to communicate with the data that is protected by Sotero. Right. Typically, applications communicate with the backend databases through JDBC or ODBC. And when we were designing our solution, our main capability is protecting um, data elements in the data sets and enabling applications to query the encrypted data in a seamless manner with a low latency. That is our main capability, and we are not into providing connectivity to different data sources. That problem is already solved by Progress. So we leveraged Progress data drivers and integrated into OpenAccess servers so that our clients can use the well-established drivers but still get capabilities of Sotero, which is data protection and actually interacting with the encrypted data without impacting performance. It's not only protecting data set, you also will get logging capabilities as the transactions are flowing through. We are capturing everything that is going through the system, and we are logging all the transactions and exposing all these through our user interface as audit dashboards. And we are also extending that functionality to incorporate anomaly detection and flag the transactions that are going through. If they are anomalous, we will flag them as anomalous so that appropriate actions can be taken based on the severity of the anomaly. So how do we make applications interact with the encrypted data sets is when application issues, we are between application and database. And when application issues a query, uh, we receive the query and rewrite it so that it works against the encrypted data set. And once the query is executed on the database, the results will be received by Sotero server. And we perform selective decryptions after checking the privileges and then rewrite the result set. And the decrypted result set will be sent back out to the application. And as the transactions are flowing through Sotero, we are logging everything, as I mentioned before. And all of these transactions are exposed through our user interface, and we have anomaly detection plugged into those transactions to highlight any anomalies that are coming into through the system. At a very high level, it is looking like this. Application is connecting through JDBC or ODBC into the Sotero proxy, which is communicating with the backend databases. When we encrypt, the keys are actually under the control of the customer itself. We are not going to have any ownership of the key. That is totally in the hands of the customer. We store the keys in an vault, and vault is a very secure end-to-end TLS, and we also provide physical and logical key rotation features, and all of that is built into the product. I'll just quickly show you at a very high level how easy it is to interact with the Sotero GUI and accomplish all these tasks in a seamless manner. First, you log into the GUI and then go through dataset creation by clicking on Add New Dataset. When you are creating the dataset, the main things are you are actually providing connection details to connect to a particular dataset. And then you can pick and choose tables and columns which have sensitive elements. And after that, you can configure encryption types for each attribute based on the behavior. The typical main ones are format preserving encryption and AES-256 deterministic encryption. After that, you click on Start Encryption, which will kick off the bulk encryption job and will start reading in the plain text data, perform encryption, and will write out encrypted data. You can monitor everything from the UI itself. Once the data is encrypted, you can go through role-based access control and set up privileges for these attributes. So you can actually modify a particular role and assign decrypt privileges to the roles. And once that is done, when applications need to be configured to interact with the encrypted data, that's when you can come in and modify. If it is JDBC, you modify the JDBC URL to route the traffic to Sotero proxy. And mainly that is the only modifications that is needed. Actually, it is just a configuration change than anything else. Once you reconfigure so that the traffic is coming to the Sotero proxy, everything else is handled in the proxy itself. So this is how it looks like. The same query, when you are going through as an authorized role, you see everything in the decrypted form. But the same query, when executed as an unauthorized user, the data is coming up in the encrypted format. Similar with the ODBC driver too, if your reporting tools or analytics tools are using ODBC driver, you can create a DSN and configure Sotero ODBC driver so that all the traffic will go to Sotero proxy, and whatever needed to happen to communicate with the encrypted data will be handled by Sotero. And this is another example of how the data will look like. With the authorized role, you are seeing the same dashboard coming out with plain text data. But the same dashboard, when executed by somebody who does not have privileges, the data is left in encrypted format. And that's about it from the Sotero point of view.
That is so amazing, Shanti. I'm just astounded at the amount of nuance that your product has. And I think I can see the areas where DataDirect Open Access SDK is fitting in here. But can you just tell us a little bit in your own words of why you and everyone at Sotero thought Open Access SDK would be a good fit for this?
Sure. The Sotero the main problem that we are solving is protecting sensitive elements and enabling applications to query the encrypted data without losing performance, right? We and also when the data is being used, we are not decrypting data on the server. We are keeping the data in the encrypted state even when it is being used, and that is what is giving highest level of security and protecting data sets from breaches. That is our core value proposition. We are not into building connectivity to wide variety of data stores. That problem is already solved by Progress. So it actually made sense for us to integrate into Progress Open Access Server and leverage the connectivity provided by Progress so that we can do what we do best is, which is protecting sensitive elements and enabling applications to query the encrypted data.
Yeah. And you actually just answered one of my other questions was, why didn't you just go ahead and build this yourself? But it sounds like that's not where Sotero's specialty lies. That's more of a data direct specialty. So you used resources at hand. Am I putting words into your mouth, or does that sound about right?
No, yeah, you got it. You got it right.
Nice. Nice. Well, I know I am not the only one with questions here. I see some questions have come in from other people. And Avadu, some of these questions I believe will be for you. So let me pose what we've got here to both of you. And if by chance, like I said at the beginning, we don't get to everything that comes up today, we will definitely have people from DataDirect reach out and get you your answers. Okay, so questions, questions, questions. Let's kick off with this one. This is for Sotero. What types of data storage platforms do you support?
We support a wide variety of data stores ranging from typical RDBMS like Oracle, Postgres, SQL Server, MySQL, and big data, Hive, and all, and also up and coming cloud analytics like Redshift, Snowflake, Yellowbrick, and Active.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Um, Question for Avidut. This person would like to know, can the product be white labeled for ISVs or independent software vendors?
Yeah, so this is a very common use case for open access where the ISVs use open access for redistribution. You have seen the case of Sotero itself, right? So the all the clients can be white labeled, even the service can be white labeled and distributed to look like it's coming from the ISV.
Nice. Anything to add to that, Shanti?
No, I think we were able to leverage all the drivers that are provided, and we are quite happy with the support whenever we had any issues with the drivers. They are addressed as quickly in a responsible manner.
Nice. So the next question I think came in a little bit earlier. Shanti, you spoke to this. Avadut, did you want to add anything about why using an SDK is better than building a driver yourself?
Yeah, I will see that question in two phases, right? One is uh, why not build ourselves, and that was somewhat answered by Shanti's answers. Like that's not your business. Like that's not your key strength. So data connectivity is a key strength for DataDirect, and that's why we are able to build such a good drivers which are compatible with all these tools and work out of the box. But uh, building a standard-based connectivity is not as simple as probably it might look. So, to address your quick go-to market and reduce your entire cost of ownership, right? buying is a better decision than building those drivers yourself is the first thing. Second piece of that is, if you don't build, right, can you actually use the native connectivity which is already out there in the market? Right, probably yes. But then if you look at the last slide that I was presenting, where the open access lets you augment a lot of your database features, or the way Sotero was able to put encryption layer or data masking layer between your data and the application, right? Those sort of capabilities will not be available through native connectors, which you can get through open access.
Nice, thank you. Let me have you just keep talking here. This question also looks like it's for you, Avadut. You talked about the BI and analytics, so at the very beginning of the information we presented, but then
Right.
what about other operations like ETL?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I don't see ETL as a separate from BI use case. Many of the time, ETL is just piece of the whole analytics story. ETL usually used to like extract, transform, and load that data from your source database to database warehouse, and then it gets integrated with data coming from different sources to give you more integrated data analytics uh, to build those reports and get the right information to make your business decision quickly and more reliably. So I do see that as part of business intelligence flow itself. But to answer to that specific question, yes, all ETL, BI, data preparation, all these data related tools talk to the same data standard or SQL standards, which are ODBC, JDBC, EduRotate, and that's how open access lets you connect to all these tools.
Nice. Okay. Another question, Shanti, this one will be for you. Will there be any application changes when interacting with databases protected by Sotero?
Actually, the only change that is needed by the application is to configure it to go through Sotero proxy. But other than that, anything that figuring out how to interact with the encrypted data, selectively performing decryptions and making queries, work against encrypted data, all of that is handled by Sotero, including key management. And application need not be aware of any of that, and it can inherit all these capabilities from Sotero. So we are actually raising security profile of the application without any code modifications.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm looking at the time. I want to be respectful of your time and participation here. So I think we're going to have to hold any other questions that were coming in. But thank you both. Avadut, thank you for taking time out of your day. And Shanti, thank you so much for representing Sotero and giving us all this interesting information about what your company does and the nuanced layers in how you have brought the DataDirect OpenAccess SDK product into what you do just to make what you do even better. So this was a great session. I hope all of our listeners learned a lot today. I certainly did. And we will be sending out this recording later on. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And we thank you so much for your time.